Who else, man? Huh? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce. Back on. Who else, man? Huh? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce. Back on. Who else, man? Huh? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce. Back on. Who else, man? Huh? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce. Back on. Who else, man? Huh? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce. Back on. Who else, man? Huh? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce. Back on. Who else, man? Huh? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce. Back on. Who else, man? Huh? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce.
To the right, with their face right next to the glass, staring at him. He only saw it for the briefest moment, but it seared into his brain. He screamed and ran out to find his dad. His dad, of course, investigated and then calmed him down, or tried to. They had a prayer session because he was so freaked out. Eventually, he went back to sleep. He said that fast forward to his 30s, he had forgotten all about the event, until one night, while visiting, his dad quietly brings it up. He said, "Remember that one time you saw a face in the mirror?" It suddenly came back to him in a rush of a memory, sending a chill down his spine. He said, "Yeah, I remember." And then his dad said, "Well, sometimes I think about that night." He looked down at the floor with a serious expression, and then he said, "I saw it too." He went on to describe exactly what Reddit user Liberated Man had seen. Neither of them have any idea what it was. Apparently, when his dad went to investigate, he saw it and had a freak out of his own. And the prayer session was as much for his own nerves as it was his son's.
The biggest challenge we face running a construction business is cash flow. You end up waiting for a long time to get paid using Xero. We learnt what money was coming in, what money was going out, and it made things a lot more streamlined and easy.
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I keep track of all my tasks. I start by brain dumping everything I need to get done, and
this one's actually insane. In 2010, 55-year-old Greg Flanagan was found dead on the floor inside of his locked hotel room in Texas. There were no signs of a break-in or robbery, as Greg's wallet was still in his back pocket with cash inside. He had suffered no obvious external injuries, but had massive internal damage, including broken ribs, damage to his liver and intestines, and a hole through his heart. Flanagan's death was soon ruled an unsolved homicide, despite coroners having no idea what actually happened to him. After an 8-month investigation, it was revealed that he died from a 1-in-a-million series of events. A drunk guest in the next hotel room accidentally fired a single bullet through the wall while playing with his pistol. While Flanagan was laying down watching Iron Man 2, the bullet hit him directly in the scrotum and continued up through his body and through his heart, likely killing him moments after he stood up and stumbled toward the door. Lance Moeller was later sentenced to 10 years in prison for his neighbor's bizarre accidental murder.
Here's some random facts that will mess with the way you see the world. Astronaut means star sailor. Astro meaning star and not meaning sailor. That is such a cool name. High heels were originally made for butchers so they wouldn't get blood on the bottom of their shoes. The first ever webcam was created to check on a coffee pot just to make sure it didn't catch on fire. In Switzerland, it's illegal to own just one guinea pig. You need at least 2 or more. I think it's because they get depressed if they're alone. I'm not even joking. Australia is wider than the moon. How does that work? The Eiffel Tower is taller in the summer. This is because metal expands when it gets hot, right? A jiffy is an actual unit of time. It's 1/1000th of a second. In Japan, there's over 200 flavors of Kit Kats. I didn't know that there were 200 flavors, period. Queen Elizabeth was a trained mechanic in the military. That's a baller move, though. Become a mechanic and then a queen. Do you know the only letter that doesn't appear in a U.S. state name? I'll give you 3 seconds. Ready? 3, 2, 1. The letter Q.
3 most haunted places in the Muslim world. Desi edition. Let's turn off these lights. At number 3, I have Lal Bagh Fort in Bangladesh. This fort started construction in the 1600s, but it was never fully built. This fort is so haunted that it has 3 different ghost stories, not just one. The first ghost story is the story of Puri Bibi, who died inside of this fort in 1684. It is said now the ghost of Puri Bibi haunts this place, and at nighttime people report hearing her dancing and singing inside of the fort. The second story is a headless horseman who goes to this fort to pray inside the prayer room every single night at 3 a.m. People report hearing prayer coming out of this prayer room when it's completely empty, and we all know that's just jinns praying in congregation. MashaAllah. The third story is about an endless tunnel that's closed off to the public that's in this fort. During the British rule of South Asia, a British investigation team sent chained dogs into this endless tunnel, and they never came back. The same exact thing happened to some elephants they sent into this tunnel, so what they did is they sealed off the tunnel and closed it off to the public. At number 2, I have the New Islamabad Airport. The New Islamabad Airport is known to have a lot of ghostly sightings, sounds that you can hear in empty spots of the airport, and electrical malfunctions. It's said that this airport was built on cursed land, but what really happened is probably black magic was on the land already, or there's a jinn infestation inside that airport. At number 1, I have the Mohatta Palace in Pakistan. The Mohatta Palace is notorious for being haunted in Pakistan. It was built in the late 1920s by a man whose last name was Mohatta. I'm not saying his full name. After the partition, it was used by various government officials until it became a museum. Visitors of the Mohatta Palace say they hear voices, see figures, things moving, and they hear parties going on inside the palace. People say it's haunted by the former residents, but we all know that's a jinn.
Statues caught moving on camera. Statue of Liberty.
Badasses of History, Part 20. During the Sandy Hook school shooting in 2012, 27-year-old elementary teacher Vicky Soto died a hero while saving her students from the gunman. After hearing gunshots from outside, she quickly hid her first graders in the classroom closet and refused to hide herself. When the shooter came to her room, she told him that her students were in the gym, after which some of the kids ran from their hiding spots in a panic. The shooter opened fire, but Soto shielded the children with her body as they escaped, saving 11 young lives while sacrificing her own. Nicknamed the Saint of Auschwitz, Maximilian Kolbe was a Polish Catholic priest who offered to die in the place of a concentration camp prisoner who was condemned to die of starvation. After surviving for several weeks, Kolbe was eventually killed by an injection of acid. The man he sacrificed himself for lived on for another 50-plus years and dedicated his life to telling Kolbe's story. In 1982, the Pope canonized Kolbe and declared him a martyr of charity.
Fun fact of the day that my small brain cannot physically comprehend. This one really did make me say, what the fuck? I want you to do me a favor and pour yourself a glass of water. Do it. Now, there is an immensely high chance that that water you're about to drink is older than the solar system. This is because it existed in ice specks floating in cosmic clouds before any of this shit came to be. Oh, and one more thing. Scientists estimate that every glass of water you drink has 100% passed through a dinosaur. So put immensely bluntly, the most vital thing humans need to survive is Jurassic wee-wee. My brain! Let's make a deal. If you didn't know these facts or they shocked you in any way, you have to share it. Now remind someone to stay hydrated today. And then immediately send them this video. We're so evil. Elon!
Stop scrolling because this has to be one of the creepiest Reddit posts ever. This Reddit user said that him and his friend went hiking in a forest in New York State. While exploring the caves off the trail, they discovered a disturbing statue. It had nails driven into its eyes, a noose around its neck, and an unsettling aura. One of them felt uneasy and warned against taking it because he had heard of satanic rituals that occur in that forest. But the other one decided to bring it home anyway. Strange occurrences began almost immediately. At night, there were banging noises, the statue moved on its own, and a strong smell of pond water filled the house. The man's dog, usually calm, refused to go near the statue and even started peeing indoors. One night, a knock on the door woke him up at 3 a.m., but when he opened it, No one was there. By morning, he discovered barefoot, muddy footprints throughout the house, even though all the doors and windows were locked. He was so scared that he went to his friend's house, and his friend said that he broke down in tears. After more strange events, the two decided to send the statue to someone that said they could handle it. Since then, the disturbances have stopped, but the two remain deeply unsettled by the whole experience.
Horror games that were based on real people.
Granny. Granny was based of a Russian woman named Tamara Samsonova. She was a Russian serial killer who was arrested in July of 2015. She held her son captive in her house, and when he moved or made a sound, she beat him with a bat. But on the 5th day, she killed him. But she didn't only kill her son, she also had 11 victims along with her husband, her grandson, and even the tenant of her apartment building. She also supposedly had schizophrenia. She was also a cannibal. She butchered her victims and ate what's left. He was also caught on camera carrying the butchered parts of her victims. This was the gameplay showing her ways of doing the crime. Which game should I tackle next?
Unknown facts about history's most famous people. Steve Jobs was a video game designer before Apple. John Lennon was a graphics designer before musician. Mahatma Gandhi was a lawyer and journalist before politics. Steve Irwin was a pest exterminator before wildlife expert. Elvis Presley served in the US Army before making music.
What are you still doing here? You still have not downloaded Pi Adblock? You know I'm just going to keep showing up on your screen until you download it, right? Honestly,
whatever picture you see first reveals what kind of person you are, part 5. Up first is this photo. If you see 3 vases, it means that you have very big goals in life, but will not accomplish them until you step out of your comfort zone. Also, it means that you love focusing on yourself. But if you saw 2 people, it means that life feels very boring for you, and that you're a very kind soul, and you are ready for anything that happens to you in your life. Next up is this picture. If you saw a rabbit, it means that you consider every single consequence before doing anything, and you're a very mean and straight up person. But if you saw a duck, it means you have rapid mood swings, and you make a lot of decisions based on emotion.
Top 5 most hated celebrities in the world. Number 5 is Taylor Swift. Now, we all know that I have some disdain for Taylor Swift, and I've left her alone in recent times, but she still agitates me a lot. Number 4 is Chris Brown. Now, Chris Brown is so irritating because he's so talented. He can sing and dance, but he's always getting himself into these shenanigans. And it's like, Chris, come on, just keep it together a little bit and dance and sing and entertain us. Number 3, Kanye. Now, Kanye, basically a musical Mozart, psychopath on the inside. The things that come out of his mouth are unbelievable. Number 2 is Kim Kardashian, which I think is completely unwarranted. I think she's a brilliant, brilliant person, works really hard, puts it out there, has great image. Like, why all the hate? If you like this list and want more about other nonsense, follow me, leave me a comment with the celebrity you hate the most. Also follow my Instagram and fiance Samantha. And number 1, I thought we were all over this one because it's ridiculous. Justin Bieber.
She took a babysitting job, but they didn't mention this was in the house. Sylv Clayton uploaded a series of videos where she shows the house she's babysitting at has faceless children-like dolls that face the wall like they're playing hide and seek.
Guys, I'm babysitting and I just found the creepiest thing. What is that? Oh my god. No, but what is it? Another one. Why would you look at that? Why would anyone have this in their house?
If you look closely, each of these dolls have bells attached to them, as if they're there to alert movement. She wanted to make fun of the doll's position, and by doing so, this happens.
Guys, guess who I am?
She didn't notice, but what looks like the figure of a girl can be seen in the mirror entering a room.
These are some dirty history facts that I guarantee you were never taught. And if you ever told your history teacher any of these, they'd definitely go, excuse me, what the fuck? The first toy was invented by Cleopatra. However, to actually make it work, she put angry bees inside of it. You know, so they would go... I can't lie, don't think that would pass Dragon's Den. Next up, the ancient Romans used stale urine as mouthwash. Cool, but why? We actually know that Benjamin Franklin had a MILF fetish. A letter that he wrote back in the day was actually found and confirmed this. However, the detail he went into within this letter, we're not going to go there. There is a sign in Pompeii next to the fountain that translates to "Please don't shit in the fountain." All I can think is how many times did that have to happen for a sign to become necessary? And finally, cornflakes were invented to stop what rhymes with fastitation. It was believed that doing this to yourself was a big no-no. They thought stale foods helped fight this urge. Thus, cornflakes. Anywho. Elon!
Instantly turn your ideas into a video in seconds. To make this happen, for a limited time, you can use the promo code VEED and get full access to our AI video creation tool. You can add subtitles, stay on brand, and impress your boss, all in just a matter of clicks. Think video creating is hard? Not with VEED.
The court cases happening in 2025 are about to go crazy. In January alone, we have Donald Trump facing sentencing for falsifying business records related to hush money payments. On the same day, the Supreme Court will hear arguments on TikTok's fate. And if they don't pause the ban on January the 19th, the US waves goodbye to TikTok. On the 16th, the DOJ's massive antitrust cases against major corporations like Meta, Google, Visa, and Apple begins. They are being accused of engaging in monopolistic practices that stifle competition, and potential outcomes include corporate restructuring and significant fines. Still, in January is the Menendez brothers resentencing hearing, and New York's mayor Eric Adams faces charges of federal bribery and campaign finance violations. In May, Diddy will stand trial in federal court where he faces life in prison. And given the status of the individuals alleged to be implicated, the testimonies and evidence presented in court is expected to be groundbreaking. Luigi's next significant hearing will be on the 21st of February. March is going to be a busy month for OpenAI, because first they're being sued by the New York Times for allegedly using their content to train their AI models, and then also by Elon Musk for violating their original mission as a non-profit and transitioning to a for-profit entity. In February, Rudy Giuliani faces legal proceedings over his failure to comply with a $148 million defamation payment, which was awarded to the two Georgia election workers he had falsely accused of election fraud in 2020. And then in the summer, the DOJ is seeking to break up Live Nation Ticketmaster. Buckle up, it's going to be a busy year.
Behind me is a real photo of Jerry Nave. He had his face blown off with a shotgun at a bus stop. He was on LA's Skid Row while he was waiting for the bus, and next thing you knew, he woke up 4 months later in a coma with the right side of his face blown off. The doctors performed a 22-hour operation on him to try to restore his facial structure. This happened in 1998. He was working as a machinist, and all he was doing was waiting for the bus to go home. The doctor said it was a miracle he even survived this, and he was shot at point-blank range. However, if he wasn't shot at point-blank range, his head might have come off. After the incident, he lost contact with most of society, including his own family. All of the doors really closed on him after that. He can't even breathe through his nose properly. He can't smell. He can't taste. Because of his other eye being blown off, he can barely read. He can see through his left eye, but it's pretty blurry. Jerry Nave did pass in November of 2020. It was said there was someone looking for him, possibly his brother, but he just did not want to contact anybody. And the sad thing about this is that they never found his shooter. So this person is probably still out there, and this is probably not their first violent act. But Jerry was a pretty pure soul. He said, "I forgive them." That is such an insane thing to forgive someone after blowing off half of your face. Jerry was obviously known as a very sweet person, of course, as you can tell by the story. And it's just sad that life ended like this for him. Now, if you look up Jerry Nave, there's many interviews with him, and I honestly urge you to go look at them because he's such a pure person. Very sincere, very kind. If you Google him, anyone on the internet that's interacted with him says he's so nice. Let me know your thoughts about Jerry.
Let's talk about another one of the most interesting and terrifying urban legends on the internet, the Smiling Man. The Smiling Man is a humanoid entity who is described as being unnaturally tall and lanky, with a cartoonishly large smile that never leaves his face. Those who have encountered him have described his behavior as being unusual and unsettling, dancing when there is no music being played in the middle of the street and staring at random people as they pass him by. His purpose and his origins are largely unknown. He will appear to random people at night, whether in the streets or in their own homes, and although he does not typically attack, his victims are left with severe PTSD, seeing his unnerving smile in their dreams long after he is gone. He possesses many unnatural abilities which he uses to stalk people, such as telekinesis, telepathy, teleportation, and perhaps the most
Who else, man? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce. That on. Who else, man? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce. That on. Who else, man? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce. That on. Who else, man? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce. That on. Who else, man? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce. That on. Who else, man? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce. That on. Who else, man? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce. That on. Who else, man? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce. That on. Who else, man?
I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you. What? Are you sure?
Hi, so the way I had to fight for my life to find your comment. But let me tell you about the time that I pulled my friend into my dream, okay? So I literally just got off the phone with my girl today. And it has been a while since we chatted it up, so it felt so good. But it also reminded me again of this wild ass dream I had. So back when I was in college, I had my apartment with my roommates. My room was in the back, but literally in this dream, my room looked exactly how it looked. Like my bed was in the corner, my closet wasn't too far from my bed, my mini fridge was right next to my bed, my TV and my dresser were like at the foot of my bed, and then my desk was to the right, so on the same wall as the closet. But I remember I was resting, like I was sleeping, and I had woke up out of my dream because the door to my bedroom was open. And I remember the energy just felt so dark, and the hallway was literally dark. So it looked how it would look if you just woke up in your room in the middle of the night. So I got up and I just felt this eerie feeling and I wanted to close the door. So when I got up, I started walking towards the door and I looked out into the hallway, and normally in the hallway, it's a long hallway, like just looking outside of my room, because on this side was one of my roommates' rooms, and then a little further down, it was my other roommate's room. But straight forward, if you go straight down the hallway, it was my other roommate's bathroom. So looking down the hallway, you see nothing. It is dark, but you can feel. When I tell you, if you can feel energy, like you can feel when somebody's being cold to you in your real world, imagine feeling like thousands of something was being cold to you in a whole nother place. It was almost like when folks literally fall asleep and the motherfuckers wake up in a whole nother plane in the same setting. Like, it's not like that motherfucker went to sleep, woke up and was in a circus. No, I woke up and I was in my room. Like, that was so distressing. But when I'm looking down the hallway and I see this craziness, my instinct is to close the door. As I'm trying to close the door, I just hear this commotion down the hallway. It sounds like distant screams, but like running almost, but like a whooshing sound. And it sounds like a lot of something is coming towards my room door at one time. So I'm closing the door and I'm trying to close it. And I feel like I closed it right before something got in, but I did not feel like I was strong enough to keep it closed or to like fully get it closed. I remember just standing there holding the door closed and just praying because it's like, I couldn't go anywhere. Like, what's I about to do? Go out my window and go on this whole running spree? This did not feel like that kind of dream, okay? Literally out of nowhere, I tell y'all, my friend Cleanta appeared right next to me holding on to the door too. And there's probably a lot of reasons why it was her, because at the time, like, we were just going through college together. She was teaching me a lot. I was teaching her a lot. And she is somebody that I respect, that I trust, that I feel safe around. So I feel like my consciousness literally, or my spirit, my soul, went to go get my soul sister to help me get away from whatever that was. We're holding the door. And when I say her holding it is like what kept it locked. Like, it didn't feel like a permanent solution, but it was a solution. And it was more than I had before she showed up. So I remember just looking at her and just being so thankful. I don't remember what I said to her, but I do remember telling her, we have to get up out of here. So my room looked like my room, but we went away from the door, ran over to my bed. For some reason, when I looked up at my bed at the ceiling was like an opening, not really like a portal, but almost like when you're going through those like mazes as a kid, or even like one of those haunted houses and you have to squeeze through one of those walls that kind of feel like one of those things that flap at the fucking car washes and shit, you know, that kind of plastic feeling. That's how it felt. Okay. So we just went and we slipped through. So as I don't know who went first, but we both went in. But when we went in, I didn't see her anymore. And it was like I was in a completely different place, completely different dream. And I could tell y'all about that one, but honestly, summary, I felt like I was in some kind of like storage unit for like war or Navy times or something. But then from that place, I didn't go through any other like wormhole kind of vibes, but I ended up opening a door or something, ended up at a house. There was this weird man there looking for this little girl. And of course, in your dream, you're the one that finds the little girl that they're looking for. So now I'm protecting and saving this little girl that I don't know because it is my civil duty, dream or not. Yeah, I ended up getting her away from her, but I ended up waking up. But if y'all want to know about the story of me in my room and this thing on my bed laughing at a nigga, let me know. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I almost forgot something so crucial. So literally the morning after that dream happened with me and my friend Cleanta, I called her and I told her about it. And you know what she told me? She told me that she felt like her spirit was somewhere else last night. Well, that night that happened, but she didn't know where she was and she didn't remember me or any of what happened, but she knew that her spirit wasn't necessarily with her that night. So I knew for a fact, I've already known, but I knew for a fact that when we are sleeping, our consciousness, our spirit is out active, flying in the cosmos and doing whatever we need to do. Because when I say my friend came to the rescue, baby, I love you, Clee. Okay, so I have a moment and I thought I would quickly try to tell y'all about that time that I woke up and there was this thing sitting on the end of my bed. So I had gone to sleep on FaceTime with the girl I was with at the time. And it was kind of our thing. So how my room was set up is how it was in the last video. My bed is on the left in the corner, and then to my right is my mini fridge, and then my closet, and then a little bit above the desk, and then the TV on the left, you know, normal room. And I had my phone propped up against something on top of my mini fridge. But I guess I had woken up and gone back to sleep because I did that sometimes. College girl. But when I had woke up, I was in my room and it was daytime, like really, really bright in my room. And everything looked how it normally did, except something felt really off. And I just couldn't put my finger on why everything felt so off. So I remember getting up off of my bed And of course, I didn't see anything weird. But when I turned around after I got up off my bed, there was a black, crusty figure sitting on my bed. It looked like that dude from the Proud Family movie that was really a peanut that got burned at the end. Hold on. I shit you not. It looked like this, except it was all black. Like, no, it wasn't a black person. It was all black. I think it was supposed to be a woman. It looked slender, and it was just sitting on my bed looking at me. And I remember yelling at it, like, you have to go. You cannot be here. Get out. And it started laughing. And I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is funny. So I started yelling for the girl that I was on the phone with. Like, hey, hello, I need somebody. Because this motherfucker not moving. Like, hello. And I woke up. I woke up in my bed. The phone was hung up because she was already in class. Everything was how it was when I went to sleep. No figure. But I was like, y'all, but in that same room when I first moved in, something rolled under my desk and I went in under to go get it and I saw writing. Y'all, why was it writing of basically somebody talking about how they don't want to be alive anymore? And it was just this long, like, poem, it seemed. I took a picture of it. I don't know if I still have it, but I showed my roommates and I was like, yo, the energy in this room is so heavy. I ended up cleansing that room multiple times. Because you think about it, if you live in a dorm, it's been inhabited by thousands of different people that have had thousands of different guests and issues and experiences and energy in that room. And you're consuming it and walking into it. Energy can't be created nor destroyed. But thanks for coming. I have plenty more, especially the dream that I just had this past Monday. I woke up like, what the fuck?
When the good Lord put me in the judgment line. Yes, the judgment line. I went to bed that night and nothing particularly important happened that day. But when I went to bed, I woke up somewhere else. I was in like some kind of void and there was a bunch of people around me. And we all had on these long tunics and turbans over our head that covered our whole entire forehead. The only thing you could see was this. And I noticed that we were split into 3 sections. To the right were people in all black. They looked evil, okay, straight up evil. You did not want to go over there. Then you had people like me that were in the middle, and I was wearing some type of neutral color, like a nude. And then you had the people to the left. They were illuminating, like they were bright, and they was singing, and they was clapping, and they was dancing. I'm sitting here still trying to figure out what are we doing here and where the heck I'm at. I look directly ahead of me and I see this big marble stone looking wall. Come to find out it was actually a door. And in front of that door, it was like some type of hole in the floor. And next to that stone wall / door were 2 statues of biblically accurate angels. There wasn't a lot of action going on over there. It looked like it was inactive. So I'm like, what is that? There was a lady that was next to me all illuminating and bright. And I asked her, like, where are we and what are we doing here? At this point, I felt like I had been in there forever. And she told me that we were in the judgment line. At this point, I'm crying because I'm so sure at this point that I died in my sleep. And I'm having instant regrets. And not only that, in this void, everybody has a crystal-like looking ball. And that glowy ball shows you your entire life in great detail. There is no part of your life that is not in that ball. When it says that your life will testify against you, that is the God honest truth. I was looking into that ball ashamed. I was so ashamed and terrified because I didn't know where I was going. I kept thinking to myself, I didn't help nobody while I was here. I didn't do nothing with myself while I was here. I didn't acknowledge the Lord while I was here. And then sometimes you could see glimpses of other people's lives in the ball, people that you knew in life. And I was just crying, begging the Lord to let me go back and do it again. That if I went back, I would do it right this time. The whole time, I'm just sitting there crying. I don't know what else to do. All of a sudden, everybody started lining up in a single file line. And one thing in particular they told me not to do was take off my turban. They said, don't take off your turban because whatever's on your forehead when you take it off solidifies where you're going. If you took off your turban and you had a mark on your forehead, you're going to hell. So I'm crying like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know if it's a mark on my forehead or not. I get in the line and that line is moving something fast. Before I know it, I'm at the front of the line. At this point, I am terrified. And right when they was getting ready to take my turban off, I woke up. Definitely feared the Lord after that.
Like this, I know for sure was not a dream. And this happened about 10 years ago. And honestly, I just started telling people this story because when I talked about it 10 years ago, people thought I was crazy. The reason why I'm comfortable telling it now is because there's a lot more people open to this sort of thing now. But anyways, I was in my bed asleep and I had to work in the morning. So I was knocked out. Next thing I remember is waking up, but my body's not up. And I hear this loud ringing in both my ears. And I'm like, oh, I know exactly what this is. So I close my eyes tight because I'm like, this is sleep paralysis. And if I open my eyes, I'm going to see a sleep paralysis demon. And I did not want to see a sleep paralysis demon because I had never seen one. So I keep my eyes super duper tight. And so the next thing I remember is open my eyes, I get up, and I am up. I'm like, all right, cool. No. I turn around, and I'm asleep in the motherfucking bed. First and foremost. Yes. I'm asleep in the bed. So I'm like, well, what is happening? Now my phone is on the floor next to my bed, charging. I grab my phone and I'm like panicking, like, whoa. I gotta call my grandma because how do I get back in my body? And so I remember grabbing my phone, I remember running down my stairs. Now how I know this was not a dream, because dreams are super weird. Like when you're in your bedroom, you might start out in your bedroom, you leave your room, you end up in like a cafeteria or a swimming pool or something like that. When I tell you that everything in my room, it was literally like I opened my eyes and that is my house. Nothing off. That was my house to a T. There was nothing dreamlike about this. I remember running down the stairs, opening up my front door and sitting on the little stoop in front of my front door and thinking to myself, how am I going to figure out how I'm going to get back in my body? I'm really outside sitting there thinking how I'm going to get back inside of my body when I walk back up these stairs. So I finally go back inside. I walk up the stairs, I go back in my room. Now I had a Scentsy wax melter that I had got from somebody I worked with. I ordered through Scentsy, and it illuminated my room, like not super bright, but it was bright enough to where it was a nice ambiance in the room. And an agent of mine had got me a Bible, and on my dresser next to the Scentsy melter was this Bible. And because of how illuminated the room was from the Scentsy melt, I see the Bible. And when I look at this Bible, I have an idea pop in my head. The idea that pops in my head tells me to lay down inside my body. So guess what? I lay down inside my body. And once I lay down inside my body, I wake the fuck up in real life. And I am shook to my core. I am so scared. I'm 100% sure that this was not a dream. And it was not a dream. Nobody could ever convince me that that was a dream. That was real life. To the point that I roll over, grab my phone, and go through my call logs to see if I did, in fact, call my grandmother. Now that I'm older and I've heard of astral projection, I realized that's what that was. 10 years ago, I did not know too much about it, and a lot of people were not open to the idea of that. So when I did tell people, they thought I was insane. But now, knowing what I know now, I know that I astral projected inside my house. And I haven't done that. I haven't astral projected since. to be honest, it was really scary. So I'm kind of glad I did not. But in that house, it wasn't haunted. It wasn't negative vibes. But I feel like I did have a spiritual awakening, because that was not the only thing super duper trippy that happened to me in that house. Like, majority of the trippy stuff that happened to me was in that house, in my first apartment. So I feel like I actually did have a spiritual awakening in that house. But yeah, that was not a dream. That was real life. Did you call your grandma? Did the phone call appear in the call log? No, I never talked to my grandma. That was just a waste of time. But I swore I picked up the phone. I remember trying to dial the numbers. I remember trying to make a phone call. And I just remember the phone not being there anymore, because I was so frantic and my heart was beating so fast. Like, I remember my heart beating fast as I was running down the stairs trying to go outside. But as soon as I got back in my body, that was the first thing I did to check and see if I had her contact number still pulled up. But we never talked, period, at all. Yeah, it was just like, but I swear that was so real. And I feel like after that, like I said, I had so many spiritual experiences in the house. And I feel like that opened up a lot of that, because all of these things happened around the same time. Like, I literally saw a fairy shoot across my room. Like, it was wild. But no, I never talked to my grandma. I never made contact. And no, my phone log didn't have anything different.
Hey guys. Okay. So I just got to work and I had a few minutes. We're not gonna like jump on the drama from the other day. We're kind of falling back into my spooky content, but today we're going to talk about a really, really terrible dream that I had the other night. They say, don't talk about your bad dreams on an empty stomach. So when I actually talked about this the first time with my husband, I'd eaten, so we're good. So the other night I had a dream. Kind of nightmare. I have very vivid dreams. I can smell, I can taste, I see color. I can see everybody's faces very clear. I can see my own face in reflections. I lucid dream very well. I have pretty good control over my dreams. However, this dream was kind of half and half. So I'm sitting at a red light. I'm on the left side, and then there's cars on the right side. I have a car in front of me, and then there is a white pickup at the beginning of the line to my right, and then another car behind them. I'm sitting at a red light, and another vehicle is coming from oncoming traffic. I can't tell you what they're doing because I'm sitting behind another vehicle, so I can't see the person in that car. All I can tell you is I can see the vehicle, and it's coming very fast. And it's very erratic. It swerves over and it hits the white truck head on. And when I tell you, the sound was what it sounds like when you hear a car accident. And if you've ever been in one and you're inside the vehicle, you know that windows implode. And that's like a sound that you'll never forget. It's just a horrible... If it's happened to you, you know. I can't explain it. And if you're not involved in that accident and you hear it, you know what it sounds like. It's just horrible. You can hear it from very far away. So can you imagine being almost right next to it? So in my dream, I'm right next to it. So natural reaction for anybody is shock. You take a second to register, like, what the hell just happened? So that's what I'm doing. But in my dream, I'm looking at other people's reactions. Because like I said, there's other cars around. And everybody's just kind of sitting complacent. They're not doing anything. No movement. Nobody's getting out of their cars. Nothing. So we get out of my vehicle. I have my phone. I can't get in between to get to the driver's side to see if they're okay. So I have to walk around to their passenger side. And when I tell you what I saw was so horrific, I'm not kidding. It's nothing like the movies. It's nothing like anything you would even see on the internet, even with your safe search taken off of your Google search. pretty close, but like if you've ever witnessed anything in real life, it's like that. It's terrifying. And I've seen terrible accidents from a distance. Granted, just the aftermath. So in this situation, it felt very real, and it was. And I started crying uncontrollably in my dream. I desperately tried to call 911, but I was so scared. I couldn't. I tried, and I actually, when I did, it was like all circuits were busy. So I finally saw a lady, and I ran up to her and I said, "Ma'am," I said, "have you called the police?" This is where the dream gets kind of freaky. She kind of laughs at me and she says, "Well, what do you think? I'm sure everybody around us has called the police." So then that's when everything comes into focus, and I look and I see there's several people now. Ambulance is there. They're working on opening, his side of the truck. And yes, I have recognized that it is a male. I saw like the side of his face. He had a beard, and he was wearing a hat. He was damaged to the point where it was a mess. However, after I had that conversation with the lady, she was gone. And I look over to the truck, and I'm just a few feet away, and they get his side open. The paramedics or EMT, fire department, whatever. And they turn away to do something. And I look and I see the man, and he's real pale, kind of yellow. He is very broken, very damaged. He's just deformed, very terrifying. Well, when they turn away, he opens his eyes and lifts his head and starts looking around. And I look at him, and he looks at me, and he makes eye contact with me. And I go to say something. They turn around and look at him to do something else with him, and he lays his head back down before they can even see that he's moved. They turn around again. He does the same thing, but this time he's smiling, like he's laughing or making fun. He does this off and on so much, and I can't talk. Like, I'm trying to say something, but it's like I have a mouthful of cotton and I can't get the words out. Then when I finally get to speak, I just look around and everybody starts like vibrating and screaming. Their mouths are open so wide, and he is like crawling out of his truck. And then I wake up. I have no idea. And I was in tears and ugly crying when I woke up, and I just could not get my shit together. I don't know. I don't know what it means. I mean, I've tried to look it up. I've tried to really dig deep down inside me, but that person was so familiar, and the lady that I talked to was so familiar. I don't know if it was a warning or what. What do you think? Y'all let me know down in the comments. Is this a type of dream you've had? It disturbed me. I've been thinking on it for a couple days, but yeah, let me know what you think. Tell me about your dreams, and maybe we can figure it out together. All right, guys, I love you, and I'll see you on the next one. I gotta go to work. I'm like a minute late. Bye.
What the fuck did I just do? I went to the quantum realm. I went to the fucking multiverse. This is going to blow your mind. I did something that was technically classified as a very rare ability on the Gateway experience. So I accidentally did one of the super ability. I used what is called Focus 15 in the dream world, which is the ability to time travel. I consciously was time traveling in my dream. Not only did I time travel, I also dreamed consciously into a parallel universe. It was just like the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. That scene where they were like, can you please create a portal for me to get out of here? I was communicating telepathically at this point. I tried to go back to my own timeline that I was originally dreaming on. And this entire time, I was listening to frequencies. When I tapped into these hidden abilities that your consciousness is capable of doing, you, my love, are capable of understanding what these frequencies say when you are sleeping. It's gonna get to a point in time where these frequencies become so natural to you that you actually develop frequency as a secondhand language to your nature.
Good morning, everyone. Nobody freak out, nobody panic. But when I was a kid, I had a dream that I was flying over what I think was Central Park. And at the center of what I think was Central Park, there was a large tower. That caught my eye, so I flew towards it. At the base, I could see a bunch of fire trucks, police cars, ambulances, all with their red and blue flashing lights. What's going on, I thought. Then I saw a man. His back was turned to me, so I could only see his white hair from behind and above where I was flying. He was at the base of the tower. His legs splayed oddly around him. It was in that moment that, in that dream way that you just know things, I knew two things to be true. One, I could see everyone and no one could see me. I was invisible to the average dreamgoer. And two, that man was on the ground because he had just jumped from the top of the tower. I just knew that. And as I knew that, I saw that he was covered in blood. I could see his bones sticking out of his legs. A police officer walked over to him and got down on his level and said, "Sir, why'd you do it? Why did you jump?" And the man took a pause before his head snapped around unnaturally, staring directly up at me where I was flying. He shouldn't have been able to see me, but he could. His red, glowing eyes looking directly into mine, his smile too big for his face. He looked at me and he said, "Because I'm coming for you." That sentence felt like a slap to my face, and I sat bolt upright in bed, sweating, heart beating, afeared. I was 8 years old. About a decade passed, and in that time I had forgotten about this dream until one night I fell asleep and was in what I think was New York City again, with what I think was Central Park to my left, tall buildings to my right. I was walking, going about my day, just like everyone else that was there. It was the hustle and bustle of big city life. But as I rounded the corner, boom, silence. Everyone was gone. There wasn't a car screeching, a bird calling. No one, except for one man, standing directly ahead of me on the sidewalk, back turned to me, white hair down to his neck, legs bloodied, and his head slowly turned around until the familiar glowing red eyes and too big smile were looking directly at me. And he said, "I'm getting closer." Anywho, it's been 10 years since then, and I had another dream about him last night. Fun, quirky, silly. I'm sure it's nothing, but if you were a witch or a psychic that specializes in dream-based entities preying on the living, DM me. I would like to chat with you. Thank you. It's probably nothing. Yeah, the most recent dream was me floating in some large body of water. I could see the shore from where I was swimming. It was inside of a forest, and there was low-lying fog all around. And in the center of the fog on the shore nearest to me, the man was standing with his back to me as usual. This is the first time in one of these dreams where the man has been present from the very beginning, where I didn't approach him. He was just there. I tried to swim away, obviously. I swam backwards first, but the world kind of flipped itself and my perspective switched, and the man was back in front of me and I was swimming towards him. I then tried to swim down underwater and everything flipped and I swam up, broke the surface, and the man was still standing there on the shore. After a few more moments of me struggling and failing to swim away, the man began to walk towards me like this. Obviously terrifying, right? But I'm used to it. Honestly, I think he's my muse now. He started wading through the water and he moved not like he was swimming, but like he was walking, even though I could not feel the bottom of the lake. The back of his head was about halfway covered with water, and as he approached, he got within about 4 or 5 feet of me, and again, that head turned around, and I saw those eyes, those glowing red eyes, and that Too Big Smile just peeked out where the water was. And he didn't say anything this time. And I tried to say something, but my mouth kept filling with water. But as I was waiting there, staring at him, waiting for him to say something, under the water, I felt a hand grab my wrist, and I jolted awake. Honestly, I think we're besties at this point. Like, maybe he's just craving physical touch. You know what I mean? And as a people pleaser, I kind of feel like it's my job to provide that for him. On a serious note, though, thank you for everyone who's been DMing me with help. I am extremely incapable of responding to everyone's messages due to issues I'm not going to be working on right now. So if you did DM me, just know I've seen it and I appreciate you and I'm thinking about it and I'm thinking about you. But I, at this point, cannot respond to the influx of messages. But thank you for your concern. Again, I think I'm going to try to reframe this as friendship, right? Like, this is my friend, my good, close, personal friend. We're just gabbing, gossing, goofing, wet in a lake in the middle of a forest in my dreams. I've had worse friends than that.
Who else, man? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce. Back on. Who else, man? Sauce the boss.